All right, let's get started right away because it's a beautiful evening here in Chicago. So the sooner we get started, the sooner we can start answering student questions. A little housekeeping, we're going to introduce ourselves first. But to start out, we are going to use the Q&A button. If you have questions you want to ask us, something you want to know more about, let's use the Q&A button for that. We will answer most in live in person if we can. Some we might type, and then we'll reserve that chat button. Cassie, Will, Maddie, and I might use it to put links to important events or how to schedule a visit or things like that. So we'll reserve the chat button for important links and things. We'll use the Q&A for any questions you all might have. I encourage you to ask questions because anyone who asks a question of us tonight will be entered in a drawing for a sweatshirt. So now's the time. It's not the only time. We're here with you throughout your whole college search process, but it's a good way to just loosen up. And I'm sure if you have a question, there are a bunch of other students in this webinar who have the same question as you. So I'm going to start by introducing myself. My name is Sarah Abraham Renane. I'm actually a 1989 graduate of St. Ben's, but right now I work for the admissions office. So like I said, I am in Chicago. How does that work? I recruit a territory of 30 states right now, but primarily Illinois, Wisconsin, Indiana are the states I travel to. But if you are from one of the 30 states that I cover, I'm your admission rep. Every state is assigned, and high school, different admission reps, and we're the people who can be a great resource for you along your journey. I would like to know maybe what grades we have represented. Do we have a lot of rising seniors in the webinar, juniors, sophomores, freshmen? Let us know. You can put that either in the chat or the Q&A, just so we know kind of how to direct some of the questions we're answering tonight. What else? I've been with the admission office for 9 years. I'm a former high school English teacher, cross country and track coach. I have 5 kids of my own. 2 have already graduated from St. Ben's. 2 are current students, and 1 lone guy left. He's a junior in high school. So with that, I am going to toss it to Cassie. Maybe you can do a brief introduction of yourself.
Hi, so this is also my dog Kipper. He keeps trying to get into the camera, but I am a rising junior, and I'm also an environmental studies major, and I'm also involved in theater on campus.
All right,
so
Will, are you up?
Yeah, I'm going to be a senior in the fall, so just 1 year left. I'm a biochemistry major and a business minor, and I run track and cross country here. I'm also an out-of-state student from Kansas City, Missouri.
All right, my name is Maddie. I'm going to be a sophomore. I'm a biology major. I have an art minor here, and I'm on an art scholarship, so that's one of the opportunities you can do here at St. Ben's. I'm on the pre-dental club. Go pre-dental.
Awesome. I like to start just because I see we had one person answer. He's a rising senior, but just a little background about St. Ben's and St. John's. And I think the obvious thing, I'm sure some of you understand the partnership, but some of you might not understand the partnership. So I think it's good to start with why the 2 names? What? College of St. Benedict and St. John's University, how does that work? You see behind me a picture. That's actually from the St. John's campus, but we have 2 campuses. So St. John's was founded in 1857, and St. Ben's, just down the road about 5 miles, was founded in 1913. St. John's was founded as College for All Men, St. Ben's as a college for all women. In the 1960s, we formed a partnership, and I like to think that together we've been better ever since. So it's a unique situation. Students do take classes on both campuses. Half the majors are kind of loosely housed on each campus. So you might take a lot of computer science classes if that's your area of study on the St. Ben's campus. A lot of the nursing classes are on the St. Ben's campus. A lot of the accounting and finance classes are on the St. John's campus. We have most of the biology courses on one campus, but most of the chemistry courses on the other campus. But you will, in the course of your 4 years and most semesters, have at least one class on each campus. So how does that work? We have a great transportation system called the Link Bus. It leaves on the 30s and the 0s of every hour from one campus and the 15s and the 45 from the other during class time. It's a little further in between at night and weekends, but super convenient. All students can have a car if they want one, but you absolutely do not need to have a car on campus. Our transportation system also goes into our nearest big city, St. Cloud. On the weekends, there's a shopping bus. What else? But with 2 campuses and the classes, you also have double the amenities. So I always like to say that it feels a little bit bigger than our 3,300 students because we have 2 of everything. So there's 2 libraries to choose from, 2 sets of athletics facilities, 2 science centers, like I mentioned, 2 theaters, double the places to eat. So kind of 2 of everything. The only thing that really remains totally separate is men's dorms are housed on the SJU campus and women's are on the CSB campus. Sorry about that. And what would you like to add? Anyone want to touch on the beautiful outdoor space? Or what did I miss about the way the partnership works? Any of our current students?
I can add that St. Ben's is more like in a town of St. Joe, so there's lots of stuff to do outside of campus. And then at St. John's, it's kind of tucked into the woods, so there's lots of stuff to do in St. John's campus, like the trails. And then there are 6 lakes over there, so you can go fishing if you want and hammocking.
Yeah, so we have about 3,300 acres. I learned this fact from a student I was recruiting from Illinois. I asked him, well, what made you look at St. John's? And he said, I Googled schools with the most square acreage per student. And the search returned St. John's and Gonzaga. So we have about 3,300 acres, about an acre per student. Like Maddie said, there are 6 lakes on the St. John's campus. There's 1 lake on the St. Ben's campus, but we also have about 22 miles of trails. There's a beach, there's an arboretum. So if you like the outdoors, I just like to kind of describe it as an outdoor lover's paradise. Lots to see and explore. You can camp on an island, hike in the woods. Anything else? Cassie or Will, you want to add about the outdoor space or campuses in general, how they work together?
Yeah, so definitely being an environmental studies major, it's really nice, that everything is kind of at your own disposal, so a lot of environmental studies majors, biology majors will do research outside, which is really cool with the lakes and then the arboretum as well. But what I like to tell people when students are touring is that, again, just basically the real big difference is where you sleep at night. Else you'll be on both campuses, hanging out on both campuses. You can work on either campus as well. So you definitely really get used to going back and forth.
All right, awesome. Let's get started. We have a couple of rising seniors. Let us know if you have any questions about what you should be doing now. This is a perfect example of what you should be doing now. Just for the whole application process, we are test optional. We will package you both ways for your merit award package. If you do submit an ACT or SAT score, we'll package you both with and without your test score, and you'll get the higher amount. So your test score can never hurt you. It can only benefit you. We're also essay optional. Now, you might remember I said I'm a former high school English teacher. I will read for my applicants anything and everything you submit. if you think there are gaps in your application, or let's say you had a rough year, it's been COVID, right, for the last couple years, and maybe your grades suffered 1 year, that might be the perfect opportunity for you to submit an essay. Let us know a little bit more about yourself. Essays are also great for letting your admission counselor learn a little bit more about you. There might be instances that we think, wow, there's this scholarship that really seems this candidate would excel in applying for. So although we don't require essays, feel free to submit one if you want. Same for letters of recommendation. Okay, let's look at the questions. Is it difficult to do a double major? How many distribution requirements are needed? I'm not sure if I understand about a distribution requirement. Do any of our current students know? Let us know what that means, maybe, Sander, but is it difficult to do a double major? What do we think, our current students?
I think it depends on what you're going to do, because if you're trying to be a nurse and do accounting, that might be a little bit difficult, but maybe you're trying to do, I don't know, like maybe environmental studies and business, that might be a little bit easier. So it just depends on what you're interested in. Some might be harder than others.
I know there are a few things with like credit overlap, so I'm not sure like if you try to major in two things that were like very similar, if they would overlap. Like if you have to do like an upper science credits, then you probably couldn't apply it directly to two majors. But that being said, also if you come in with a lot of credits, it's definitely really viable to do a dual major. It's definitely a lot of work, and it helps to meet with an advisor, which is one thing that's really awesome about St. Spen's and St. John's, is that there's specialized advisors for each student. So you can meet with someone, a professor in the major you want to go into, or if you're dual majoring, you can meet with both and they can help you kind of figure all that out right away and keep you on track for all 4 years.
Yeah, I had a friend that majored in econ and accounting, and it like kind of had same business stuff, so it was like a little bit easier for her to do that.
I will say, so the most I have heard of a student, we did have a student who was a basketball player a few years back, have two majors and two minors and actually finish in 4 years. Is that common? No. But we do have a great 4-year graduation rate. It's about 92% of students who start and finish with us graduate in 4 years. I think that's an often overlooked statistic. Like Will mentioned, we have great academic advisors. So some of my own kids have switched their majors. Some have added minors. My son, who's a senior, is accounting, and just added at the beginning of last year, he had taken some psych classes he liked, and he met with his advisor and he's like, I could actually fit in a psych minor. So you will get right from the get-go a 4-year plan, kind of see if you can fit in study abroad, a minor or two, but that will set you on the course. Now, knowing that 75% of students end up changing their major at least once. So what would you say, Cassie, Will, and Maddie, if a student said, what if I'm undecided? Any good advice?
Yeah, so a lot of students come in undecided, and especially being a liberal arts school, I think that's really beneficial. So then you get kind of a taste of everything. So I had come in thinking that I was going to be a business major. I had an intro to environmental studies, and then I changed. So easily, it's really easy to be able to kind of change, but you obviously don't have to come in, with a major in mind. So it's really nice, that there are ways to get involved and kind of, test out everything.
With that, it's really cool too, just kind of like doubling down on the advisor side of it. They have specific advisors who work with students who come in undecided, which is awesome. So you can take kind of that wide variety of classes and kind of pick what's good for you. And then you have to just decide your major by your spring of your sophomore year. So there's a ton of time to figure out kind of like what you want to go into. So it's a cool option. And this is an anecdote, but I know the statistic used to be that it was actually more common for students who came in undecided to graduate in 4 years, or at least just because there was kind of got rid of that like indecision part of the process early. That being said, tons of people come with their majors now and also graduate in 4 years just fine. So just depends.
You kind of have to know going in would be nursing. It's a pretty stringent 4-year program. So if you would even be considering nursing, it would be good to indicate that on your application so that you could start on the path. Now, can you switch if you take a couple nursing classes and decide that's not for me? Yes, but that's kind of the strictest path that you need to get on it right away. Xander said by distribution requirements, he means general requirements that aren't major specific. And I think it was Cassie who said we're liberal arts. So do any of you want to talk about kind of the gen eds?
So is this talking about like some of our required classes? Okay.
Well, like, right, we have an art, we have a theology component.
Yeah, so we do require some, and you just need to get these done within your 4 years, which is pretty easy. So there's one 4-credit art class, and you can choose whichever one you want. Doesn't have to be a specific one. And the art can range from like music and theater and all that. And then we have 2 theology classes, and I didn't come from a religious household or anything. So when I heard about that, I was like, oh gosh, but then it's more asking why do we study God, and then your other class can also be done. Your second level can be done in study abroad because you can study another religion if you want. And then one science class. So a lot of people like to do environmental studies or biology. You can do physics if you want. Yeah.
And those would be all indicated on your 4-year plan. You get like a whole planning worksheet that kind of spells everything out. So you can decide now, obviously, if you have to take a lower level and an upper level, you take the lower level, generally your freshman or sophomore years, and then the higher level later on. We have someone whose music and science are areas of interest. So we have some of you on. I would like to point out that we do have a fine arts scholarship. So anyone interested in art, music, or theater, those scholarships go up to $5,000 a year, which for your value would be up to $20,000. There's an application process for fine arts. It's the deadline's generally January 15th or so. We are going to start reviewing applications generally about September 1st. First offer letters go out about October 1st. So you have to be patient for those first ones to go out, but if you apply after that, we generally hear back within 2 weeks or so. Anyone want to touch up on any music or science experiences you've had while a student, or fine arts in general?
So I am in theater. I actually have a theater scholarship. So I definitely recommend, applying for fine arts scholarship if that's something you're interested in. I love the theater program. Usually there's 2 or 3 shows in the fall, 2 or 3 in the spring, just depends. But a great way to get involved and meet other people. The Benedictine Arts Center is kind of the main area for the fine arts at St. Vincent St. John's. There's 3 theaters. It's Escher, Gretzky, and Coleman. We also have an amphitheater outside. And then we have a lot of music spaces. Usually in Escher, they have kind of like the orchestra concert, which is really cool. And then a lot of other practice spaces and lounges, classrooms, that kind of thing. So a lot of different areas. With your art credit, if you're not a really artsy person, you could easily take like a theater experience class. So, basically just watching plays and that kind of thing, which I know a lot of people like to do. So yeah, it's definitely a great place to spend some time.
Yeah, for my art scholarship, I have one of the lower ones since my major is a little bit harder. I only have to take an art class once every year, which is really nice, and it automatically gives me a minor. I did have to do an interview for it, but it was really easy, and you just submit some of your work, and that's all you do. And I feel like a lot of people don't apply to these scholarships because it's an interview, but it's not as scary as you think, and you definitely should do it because get money off your tuition.
Yeah, and it's something you can talk with your admission rep about. For the music portion, you submit 2 short pieces of music. Art, you can submit your portfolio, but definitely talk to your admission rep. It's not something you have to apply for right away because the deadline isn't until January 15th, but check it out for sure if you have a background in the fine arts. So let's go to this one. How is the balance between academics and athletics, in my case, baseball? Are the professors supportive and accommodating of schedules, etc.? Now, I know in the dark ages, I was a student, but I did run cross country at St. Ben's all 4 years. And even back then, the professors were very accommodating and supportive. It's important, I think, to remember that we are NCAA Division III. So practices are generally around the classroom schedule, right? I know cross country started about 4:15 when I was there till about 6:15. Practices, and most of our meets are on the weekends. Now, like football games are on Saturdays, but a sport like baseball, you're going to have games during the week as well. Do you want, Will, I know you're a student athlete. Do you want to touch on it a bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think there's a really good balance between athletics and academics here. So with the like class accommodation, I've had a lot of times where I go to tell my professor that I'm going to go like have a sporting event like a track meet, and they just say good luck, and like send me an email with. What's super nice too is with we have all our classes, they can actually be like recorded. So they'll just send you like a recording of the class, so you don't even really miss out on the experience. Also with the coaches, you can talk to them if you have any like athletic or academic needs, and they're super good about connecting you with resources you might need to help you. And then also the team is a great resource. So there's always lots of people on the team. There's typically going to be at least somebody in your major you can talk to who will kind of help you on that path as well. So I found it actually to help my academic experience to be like involved in athletics.
It's right, like probably like a lot of your parents tell you, the busier your schedule is, it seems like the more you're able to accomplish in a day or get done, right? Because you just are used to not wasting a lot of time. If you are a high school student, I know high school students are so sometimes overscheduled right now. So the typical St. Ben's and St. John's student, you're going to spend a lot less time in the classroom each day than what you're used to. But I will tell you, even though you might start high school right now at 7:40, 7:30, those 8 a.m. college classes come a little bit earlier once you're in college because, you know, I think our college students could agree they probably stay up a little later now these 4 years than they did in high school. But a typical schedule, I would say, would be 2 classes Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 2 Tuesday, Thursday. Do one of you want to talk kind of about how the classes work, how long they were, maybe our average class size?
Yeah, so classes are capped at 36. You're not going to have a class more than that. Personally, I haven't had a class more than 20, and I know that a lot of other students would say the same, but really nice that it feels more discussion based. You're not going to have a big lecture hall with over 500 people. You'll have really good connections with your professors. They'll be more like friends to you. You'll call them by their first name, that kind of thing. But yeah, I'll talk about the class sizes if someone else wants to talk about the other stuff.
Keep talking, Cassie.
Thanks. Okay, what was the other half of the question? Because
How did they Okay, so how would it work? Because you have Monday, Wednesday, Friday classes, that's 3 days a week, but Tuesday, Thursday are only 2 days a week.
Okay, so Monday, Wednesday, Friday classes are a bit shorter. Maddie, stop laughing at me. Tuesday, Thursday classes are a bit longer just because you're meeting for 2 days a week. Maddie, stop.
Tuesday, Thursday are 70 minutes. And you know what? I am just going to jump back in because how can Maddie make you laugh? Like, you're different ages. How do you even know each other? So I am going to skip down to, can you talk about work study options? How do those work at St. Ben's, St. John's? How do you know each other? And, you know, I think that's kind of neat too. Once you're in college, just because you're a first year student doesn't mean you might not be friends. You know, you can have friends who are seniors. So do you want to talk a little bit about work study options, maybe your jobs on campus?
Sure. So all three of us work in the admissions office together. But there's tons of really cool options for jobs. So I was actually remember looking through it, and there were some cool ones. You could be like working like at the rock gym and help people like rock climb. There's also like an esports manager. There's also tons of jobs like in the library that are, I would consider a homework job, which are kind of where you have you're working, but also you sit at a desk for a lot of the time and you can study during that time. So that's a way for someone who has a little bit less free time in their schedule to be able to kind of double up. But there's something called a work award typically. And those are ways that you can kind of like get the option to work on campus. And typically those are pretty easy to get. And then you can look into all the list of jobs.
Yeah, so there's what's called the half work award, which equates to about 5 to 6 hours a week, or a full work award equates to about 10 to 12 hours a week. So how do you earn that? Students, and I think we had another question about what other scholarships. Taylor asked, are there more scholarships besides fine arts and merit-based? Could you touch on that? There are. So automatically when a student applies, they're eligible for merit-based awards. There's nothing else they need to do. We take into account your GPA, which if you're a rising senior and you apply now, that's just through junior year, right? If you apply after first semester of your senior year is over, we'll take that into account too. But there's a merit-based award up to $33,000, dependent upon your GPA and or your test scores if you also submit those. We also have other scholarships that you have to apply to, like the fine arts that Maddie talked about. There's an intercultural lead scholarship. There's ROTC. There's Bonner, which is a service-based scholarship. So there are a few more other scholarships available as well. Okay, let's touch on, this is a great question, and I'm just going to have you each answer it because it will probably be different for each of you. What sets CSB and SJU apart from other colleges?
I'll go first. You will never get an experience like this anywhere else in the country. It is a one-of-a-kind school because you have a dual campus system. Yeah, I'll save the rest for everyone else.
Kind of going off of that, I feel like our community is so strong. I definitely fell in love with the campus, you know, has that small town Minnesota feel. I feel like St. John's is kind of the heart of Minnesota with all of the lakes and outdoor space. But I feel like the people also make such a big difference and really make it feel like home. I feel like you'll meet your forever friends, and you get to do a lot of really cool things that you really didn't get to do in high school.
Yeah, the community is definitely like a big one. You definitely feel welcome like the first time you step on campus. And then with that, just the amount of like academic support through the undergrad program is amazing. Like there's like small things like the small class sizes, being like knowing your professors on a first name basis, being able to reach out with them. all classes being taught by professors. There's just little things. The academic advisors are fantastic. And then just how like willing the community is to help you also through your academic journey. So I remember like when I showed up, there were seniors who like immediately wanted to help me and through like the whole like chem process, which can be a little bit like stressful for incoming freshmen. So it was just really nice here.
I'm gonna hop back because I realized I didn't fully answer that work study option. I kind of left it off. There's a half work award or a full work award. Now, how do you earn that? So I had talked about the merit-based being an automatic award between like $15,000 and $33,000, depending upon your high school successes. But if you submit the FAFSA, you'll automatically be considered for a work study award. It would show up on your need-based award. That being said, there are 3 different options. So you can apply to have all of your earnings go directly towards tuition. You can apply for half to go towards tuition and half as spending money, or take it all out as spending money. Now, like Will said, he had been looking at a list of jobs and those sounded really cool, right? And then some of those you'll have to do an interview process with the department head. Cassie, Will, and Maddie all had to go through filling out an application and then do a live or virtual interview with admission staff members. If you don't want to go through that process or you can't find one of those jobs available, you'll automatically be assigned a job. No, those jobs tend to be either in one of the food services or grounds or maintenance or something like that. But we have plenty of jobs available. So if you do earn a work study award, it's not like you won't have a job. You will definitely have a job on campus. And then I also wanted to touch, Will had a great answer about the department chair for nutrition. We will have more live webinars throughout the school year. So some will be specific, maybe one on nursing, one on medicine, one on education, one on accounting and finance. There will be a number of major specific or area specific webinars that we're offering. But if you have questions about a specific program, I would recommend reaching out to your admission officer, or I'll be happy to put my email in the chat. You can reach out to me, Sarah, and we will connect you with a professor. I think it was Cassie who talked about the small class sizes that we cap at 36. We do cap at 36, but like she said, she's never had a class of 36. Our average class size is about 19 to 20. Our professors are more than willing to hop on a Zoom with you and answer specific questions. I had a great experience this summer. One of my favorite professors on campus is Boz Bostrom, and he's an accounting professor who also just had his first novel published. And so I decided my book club here in Chicago was going to read his novel. And he offered to do a live Zoom with us. He put together a whole Kahoot game that we played. I did not win. One of my friends won. And he sent the winner of his Kahoot game an accounting t-shirt. So that's kind of just like Willa's on right there. That's kind of a snapshot of what our professors are like. They're very willing to hop in and help you and be available, even if I'm not an accounting major. So that's kind of what a lot of our professors are like. Let's see. Do all students have classes on both campuses, and is transportation provided? Who wants to take that one?
Okay, just depends on your major, but a lot of the times you will have classes at both campuses. Otherwise, some guys have all their classes at St. Ben's, vice versa with the girls. Just depends on your major. And then yeah, there is transportation. There's the link, and the link is the bus that takes you between both classes. And then like Ms. Renee said, it will take you on the 30s and the O's.
Also, going off of that with the link, it's really nice in the winter You don't have to worry about, trying to start your car. You'll have a nice warm link bus to come bring you to class. But especially during your first 2 years, you'll spend time on both campuses, pretty much 50-50. And it's after you declare your major where you'll have more specific major courses at, either campus.
And how if I'm a Benny at St. Ben's and I have a class, let's say, I don't know the specific schedule, but until noon at St. John's, do I have to eat on the St. Ben's campus, or how does the meal plan work?
You can eat at both campuses. There are 4 dining halls all together between the 2 campuses. You will not starve at our school, and they all serve different stuff too. And you will see girls eating at the boys' campus, and you'll see lots of guys eating at the girls' campus. So you will see everyone everywhere.
On each campus that is, I'd say more, right? Like if you've toured campuses, more like your traditional dining hall with the various food stations. And then there's more, what would you call it? Take and go, fast food wrap, sandwiches, soups. You can eat in or take it to go on either campus. Now, I'm going to tell you, I think the food's good. My oldest daughter was married this weekend right in St. Joe. But we had the bridal party, we reserved a room at St. Ben's because the food is really good, and the catering department, which is the same food that you'll eat as a student, prepared breakfast for the bridal party. And why did I do it there? Because the food is good, and we could include Benny bars in part of our breakfast. So there are traditional foods kind of that, and Benny bars, if you come to campus, are one. We have something called the Benedictine values that we kind of honor on campus. It's a whole written set of rules that we strive to live by, but some of those are hospitality, community, listening. I know Will, throughout the community word, you'll hear that a lot on campus, but hospitality is one of our big ones too. You'll learn something about loaves of bread, possibly when you come to campus with our visitors. But it's good. Like Maddie said, you will not go hungry on either campus. All first and second year students have an unlimited meal plan. I think it's great because you don't feel like, oh, I only have 2 meals a day, I have to load up my plate. You can go in and out and just grab a banana or just grab a juice. So if you want to visit one of the 2 main cafeterias on campus, that's unlimited as many times in and out a day. And then does anyone want to talk? Can you explain like the flex dollars and the punches?
Yeah, so with the unlimited meal plan, you'll have obviously unlimited amount of swipes into the main dining halls. To the secondary dining halls, it works a little bit differently. So every day you have a punch, and that punch can go towards our secondary dining halls. You have to choose which one you want to go to, but you get a main, a side, and a drink. And also at those secondary dining halls, you can spend your flex money, and that's like campus currency. You can use it for snacks and stuff like that, but each semester you get $150 of flex. It doesn't transfer over into the next semester, so make sure you use it up or don't use it in 1 month like Cassie did on coffee.
I was wondering if you were going to bring that up. Yep, you have to be smarter than me. The coffee can be addicting, but
So there are 2 coffee shops, one on each campus. I will have to say my son, I never have to add flex dollars for, and I have to say how much do you have left, make sure you spend it, or buy someone a coffee by the end of the year. My daughter, I tend to add. All my daughters I have to add because they're the coffee gals. But hey, I as a mom say if it's going to keep you in the library for an hour later, you go get that coffee. All right, are the dining halls, let's jump to that one, only open at certain times, because that kind of ties in with what we've been talking about. Want to talk about the dining hall hours?
So the dining halls are pretty much always open, you know, whenever you're hungry, or especially during those like main eating hours. The main dining centers like Gretzky, it opens at 7 in the morning. I believe it closes at 8 or 9 at night. But so basically almost all day. McGlynn's is open later to like 10 o'clock around that time. So that's that secondary location. So it's nice that, you know, after you have dinner, if you decide that you want a smoothie or a late night sandwich, you can easily go over to the secondary locations and get one. Also, if you have any dietary restrictions, they are accommodating. I'm gluten free, I have celiac, and there's a dietitian that you can work with as well. But there's like kind of like an order sheet online where you can order like gluten free, dairy free, that kind of thing. So definitely recommend talking to a dietitian about options, but it is doable.
That it's available, but you kind of have to advocate for yourself and ask. But it's a good lesson for anything in college. If you're wondering about something, ask. Like Will said, his teammates, the upper class guys were willing to jump in and answer questions. I think we're a pretty welcoming place. If you have a question, just ask and we'll do our best to accommodate. You know, Cassie's used that as a resource, and now she's found out that there are lots of food options for her available. So that's awesome. What are the dorms like? Are some better than others? And do students usually live on campus for years? I'll touch on the on-campus housing requirement, and then you all can talk about the dorms. We do have a 4-year residential requirement. So the mom and me and admission reps can come out a little bit. Studies show that students who live on campus all 4 years, you're obviously more likely to attend class, right? Because it's right there on the campus you live in, right there, easy accessible. You're more likely to be involved in activities because you're aware, you see them going on, and you're more likely to reach out for help if you need it. So we think it helps promote our sense of community. More than 90% of our students live on campus all 4 years. Do you want to talk about kind of the progression of the housing? What does the typical first-year student live in, sophomore, and then junior or senior?
I'll talk about it. So freshman year, you're in an average dorm. What's really nice is all of them have a sink and then really big windows, so you get a lot of natural sunlighting. There are always 2 desks in the room too, and you can loft your beds if you want extra space. And then sophomore year, I'm living in one right now. You have a nicer dorm, and then you have a lot nicer furnishing and bigger closets. And then junior year, you can get into apartment living, and that's where you have your own kitchen. And that's when you can also change the price of your tuition as well, so you can get some money off. Then you do have to learn how to cook for yourself. Not a lot of people know how to do that. And then senior year, you also have apartment living, but you could get into our row house living. They're like townhouses. You also have your own kitchen. Oh yeah, then you don't have to use the communal bathrooms in the apartment living and the townhouse living.
So there's super nice like upperclassmen options on campus. So on either campus, there's almost like, I don't want to call it a village, but there's like an area that's like a little bit separate that has suite apartments. So like on the St. John side, they actually just built a whole new row of apartments right on one of our lakes that are awesome. And then next year, ready for next year, they're actually tearing down some of the housing and building even more new housing. So there's tons of super cool options for upperclassmen on the St. John side. And the St. Ben's side, there's something called Centennial Commons. It's really modern. It was built in 2012, but it was actually built based on like polling of students who requested more on-campus housing. And those are those townhouses that Maddie said, but they're just kind of a nice, a little bit removed, not around like academic buildings, and a cool spot to just be in a kind of a community with all the friends that you've made in your time here.
there are 3 first-year dorms, Aurora, Corona, or Regina. The neat thing that I think about the first-year dorms at St. Ben's are they're all connected, and the middle hub is kind of a lounge area, but also the bookstore and the mailbox center. All there for first-year students. You do not have to go outside to see any of your first-year St. Ben's classmates because all 3 are connected by hallways. At St. John's, there's 2 first-year dorms, either Mary or Tommy Halls. So all your first years are kind of gathered in one spot. And then, like our students explained, they get progressively better. A lot of our sophomore students will live in suites, which are basically apartments, I'd say, without kitchens, right? I have a senior, Johnny, last year as a junior, he lived in a 6-bedroom, 6.5-bath apartment with 5 other guys. Pretty unique, I think, in a college situation to have his own bedroom and bathroom as a junior. He'll be in the same type of situation this year. So kind of like Maddie was saying, they get progressively better, but it's great to be in those traditional dorms because you really get to know your classmates. If you need help with something, you just have to knock on the door next door and ask. But all the first year dorms also have lounges. They have study areas, they have computer labs. Do we want to explain laundry? How does laundry work? Is it a big expense?
No, so laundry is all free. You don't have to bring quarters or anything. So on each section of like the hallway or, like on the floor, there'll be a laundry room. So washers and dryers, then there's usually like a sign up sheet on the wall. So you just put your name down for a certain time, which is really nice. And yeah, you get to learn how to do your own laundry. It's important.
So someone asked along this line, what kind of amenities does the housing include? Does it include a mini fridge? Anyone want to touch on that?
So for first and second years, you have the option to rent a mini fridge. So we have a program called bedloft.com, and you can rent out several items. So on the Johnny side and Benny side, you can rent out a bed loft through there, and it's super nice. The football team for the St. John side and the swim team on the St. Ben side actually loft those before you get here, so you don't have to like loft your own bed. But you can rent out a mini fridge, a futon, and then on the St. John side, you can rent out a microwave. On the St. Ben side, there's a sustainability push, so there's microwaves in all the common spaces, but you can't have one in your room. So just a slight caveat.
You can either rent or purchase your own mini fridge. There are size requirements, but they're all listed. They're pretty big. They're not just the cube. You can go bigger than that. So if you think you're going to want it all for yours, it might be more economical to buy one and bring it back and forth. And Will mentioned sustainability, and we do have a question about that. What does CSB and SJU do to be sustainable?
So I feel like going off of that, with making sure, that, some of the products that we're using, it's more like communal, so we're sharing. But especially, being an environmental studies major, we talk a lot about sustainability and what we can do. So I feel like the education aspect is very important. So more people are aware of, how to be sustainable, why it's important. We also have a sustainability club on campus. So usually they have a lot of different events going on. And usually they'll, give products away, that kind of thing. So definitely important. And I feel like they also really encourage it as well.
There's a solar farm, there's a greenhouse on campus. We grow some of the produce we use. At St. Ben's specifically, they got away from using trays in the cafeteria because they found, and not only was it less food waste with, people who would just pile on things that they'd never eat onto their trays because they could, but it uses less water because they don't have to wash the trays. We don't sell water bottles on the St. Ben's campus. We encourage you to use your own water bottle. There are hydration stations sprinkled all across both campuses. We have energy conservation contests. Every year for a whole month, we'll have contests between the dorms to see who can use the least amount of energy. Like Cassie said, we have a sustainability club, pretty environmentally conscious, I would say, but always looking for more ideas too, as well. All right, any other questions? I think we answered most of them. I'll give a couple of minutes to answer more questions, but I'm gonna start. We're about 7 minutes away from 8:30. Maybe let's leave everyone tonight with where your favorite spot on campus is. I'll start. So I love, when I was a student, I loved running in the trails back down by the baseball fields at St. John's. Really nice, kind of quiet, solitude-like trails that you can run on. Cassie, I'm going to pass it to you. What's your favorite spot on campus?
My favorite spot is probably Clemens Library. It's very relaxing. There's some really comfy chairs that me and my friends would always sit at by some windows, watch the snow fall, study, read, maybe take some naps. So definitely a very relaxing and comfortable place that I am looking forward to being at again.
Controversial. My favorite spot is the St. John's Library because it's 3 levels and then it goes by sound. So if you want it dead silent, you just go to the basement. And if we call it the dungeon, so if you drop a pen in there, people will look at you. But that's my favorite spot on campus.
Actually, like, there's a really cool route you can run around our most popular lake, Lake Sag, and it's really cool because if it's like a hot day, there's a nice like cool breeze, and it's very like serene and peaceful. And it's also a nice place to go on a walk or hammock, kind of like on that path too. So that's my favorite spot.
Oh, God, I'm talking with was my mic off the whole time? Or did I just have, sorry about that. There are practice rooms on campus. I know Will was typing an answer. You can reserve online either music practice rooms. There are plenty of pianos to use. You can also reserve study rooms in the library. So a lot of those reservation forms are right online. When do you recommend a student applies? I would say rule of thumb is the earlier you apply, the earlier you hear back. We do use rolling admissions, so we review applications as they come in. We have like an early decision, but that just means if you apply, but I think it's mid-October, you'll hear before Christmas. But we generally, you'll hear back within 2 weeks or so. Like I said, starting after that October 1st date when we start sending out acceptances. And then someone asked about study abroad. Has anyone here studied abroad? No. So we are generally nationally ranked in the percentage of students who do a study abroad. Almost every major can fit in a full semester study abroad. Really, the only one who can't is nursing. But our nursing majors do have a short-term study abroad experience. Some of our athletes, like the winter sports that fall across both fall and spring semester, have a hard time studying abroad. But we have short-term study abroad options in either May or over winter break. Does it fall in? The tuition is generally the same, but most of our study abroad students might have additional expenses. For instance, the flights to and from. A lot of our study abroad students take advantage of travel on the weekends. So obviously, or unfortunately, that's not covered. That would be on your own. But the tuition for the most part is basically the same. Safety protocol. If you have a specific question, ask that. We can, I think, touch generally. Someone want to cover the safety aspect on campus?
There's 24-hour life safety security on the girls' campus, and then there's also life safety on the boys' campus as well. So also, if your car doesn't start in the winter, they'll help you do that too. So they're not just here to protect you, they'll help you do your other stuff. Or maybe for some reason you're stuck on the St. John's or St. Ben's campus for whatever reason, you missed the bus, they'll also escort you back to campus.
With
I
that
have a
too,
great-
oh,
go.
sorry, go ahead. Sarah.
No, you go.
So with that, on the St. Ben's campus, the security office is actually located in Mary Commons, which is like connected to all three of the first year residence halls. So they're definitely like super close, easily accessible. I've always found like the experience is they're kind of stay in the background and just help if you need, or if there's anything going on. So it's just a really cool resource. It's always there if you need.
I think our students generally look out for each other too. Safety also, we do have health centers on both campuses. Great resource if you get sick, good for your parents to know. You can register for appointments or schedule appointments right online. My own kids have, had illnesses now and then, and it's a great resource to use. I do have a little anecdote about kind of the safety, and it kind of showcases a little bit about what our community is about. My son last year went into the ditch, and a couple of days later went out and his tire was flat on his car. And it was winter, and he tried for a while with a bunch of his buddies to get the lug nuts off to change the tire, and it was like frozen or whatever. He couldn't get it. He called life safety. They were like, we can't really get it, but there's a garage on campus that a couple of the monks work in, just go there. So he drove his car there. The monk couldn't have been nicer. He walked, he's like, all right, I'm going to walk you through things. But then I'm going to want a little work from you guys. So they got the tire changed. Then he also heard that my son was going to be driving back to Chicago. So he actually said, let's walk around your whole car and make sure everything's operating. He checked the oil. He changed the windshield wiper, the rear windshield wiper, put a brand new one on, and just helped to make sure that the car was safe to make the drive home over winter break. So that's kind of the community we have, just to show you a little bit. I think then the boys helped him shovel out some slush around his workshop and do a little cleaning up for an hour. They tried to give the monk, a couple monks, and the monk said, nope, we're even. We both helped each other out, and that's kind of how we do things here. So you'll find a little bit about like that at St. Ben's and St. John's. Okay, we have one more question before we go. I'm willing to stay on too if we have more, but can you apply to be a resident assistant as a sophomore? Should I answer that? You can. I don't know, has any of you, is there a whole interview process to that?
There's not you'd have to apply and do an interview, but there's training that also has to go with it. So just know that.
Yeah, so there's like Maddie was saying, there's an interview process, and then kind of how it works is you get to request where you want to be an RA. So typically the two options are you RA your grade level, which would be the more fun one, typically because you could stay around your friends, but then also there's some cool benefits to being a first year RA as well. You get a more advanced meal plan paid for. But there's definitely cool options as an RA.
Yeah, and then most RAs, you have your own room, so you can help their students on campus. It's a great work study, way to earn money on campus. All right, we are right at the 8:30 mark. I can stay on a little longer if anyone has any other questions for me. I would like to promote our visit option. So we do have a great online kind of tour that you can take yourself through. But we also, I'm going to turn back to those Benedictine values. We welcome visitors almost anytime. There's a calendar online. We do group visits, we do individual visits. If you do a group visit, there's a whole program that you kind of go through, an admission program on the screen with an admission rep going through things about St. Ben's and St. John's, but also you'll take a tour of both campuses. If you schedule an individual visit, you'll have a one-on-one meeting with your family and yourself with an admission rep. You can ask to speak with someone from financial aid. You can ask if it's during the school year to sit in on a class or meet with a professor or coach. You'll also tour the campuses. Now, if you are an out-of-state student, I have to promote, because I come in for almost all of them. Our fly-in visit program is amazing. So, and Olive will talk about, because it looks like he did it. So we offer between 2 and 5 a year. They're available for accepted out-of-state students, so you have to apply and be accepted. We will pay for half to all your flight. We're kind of bantering that around what we're doing next year, but you stay 2 nights on campus. It's Saturday through Monday. Why in the world is it 2 nights? Well, we love visitors for one thing, but we want you to see the campus on a weekend as well as a weekday. Because if you come from far away, like Will, or my own kids, you don't have the capacity to go home every weekend, right? You'll be staying. So you want to see what's going on a weekend as a weekday. But it's great the weekday as well, because that's when campus is hustling and bustling with classes and more students in the cafeteria. So we want you to see from both aspects. We'll pair you up with a current student. So maybe Will can talk a little bit about where you stay when you come for a fly-in and kind of what you do while you're on campus.
Sure. So yeah, flying is like an awesome experience if you're not a state student to do. Like Sarah said, you stay with a student. It's awesome. You can do basically everything they do except for go to their classes and do the homework. So that's a lot of fun. A cool thing too, though, if you're interested, you can like go sit in on a class too, of your choice. But basically, you like stay with them, usually like on like a futon or something. So the true college experience. And you get to do this like kind of a mix of like programming where you meet the other people from fly-in. So I'm still really good friends with people from my fly-in. I actually roomed freshman year with someone I met on that weekend, which is really cool. And it's kind of like a nice thing when you come in, especially out of state, not knowing anyone. To see like, okay, I have a small community already. And then also to see, like Sarah said, that people actually stay up and do things on the weekends.
And there are things to do on the weekend. We have a joint events council. I should probably touch on that. We put on about 170 activities a year. And there's also an activity fair in the fall that pretty much every club on campus, we have more than 100 different clubs, has tabling with members of the club right there. You can sign up for anything and everything you want. We have walking clubs. We have, like we said, sustainability clubs. We have, I don't know, what are some of the other clubs? If everyone can name a couple. Every major pretty much has a club, right? Like Maddie said, the pre-dental club, there's an education club, a nursing club. You can start your own club. One of my students from Michigan, his first semester on campus said there is not a bowling club, and he started a bowling club. He graduated 3 years ago now, and there's still a bowling club on campus that he started. So pretty much if you have interest, there's something for you to do when you're not in class on campus. We are going to say goodbye for tonight. Please join us for other webinars. Please come to campus for a visit. And if you have any questions later tonight, tomorrow, next week, feel free to reach out to me or any of our students. And we look forward to learning more about you as you start. It looked like most of you, your junior or senior years of high school. Thanks so much for joining us, and have a great rest of the week. Bye-bye.